Well, Honorable Tand is right to oppose the government. That is actually what Kenya Kwanza has been calling for all along, that they do their job, that they need to highlight challenges in the system, in the economy, and of course speak on behalf of the so-called Mwananchi. So I don't fault him for highlighting weaknesses in this system. Sam, I think it's important to appreciate that the high cost of living has both domestic and international components. It's obvious that the war in Ukraine has contributed to global energy crisis and of course food crisis, and that has ripple effects across the board, including of course in Africa and Kenya. But there are also domestic aspects to it, and that is why the former President Uhuru was wisely advised to subsidize some components of cost of living, including energy and I think food and all that, unga and all that. So this government, one of the first things they did was to remove the subsidies. So it was predictable that cost of living was going to rise. My challenge with them is lack of clarity on the interventions they propose to make, because it's not like the economy will correct itself. It's not a self-regulating machine. So there must be deliberate interventions, including in some sectors subsidies, in some sectors like education, deliberate reduction of school fees to accommodate the most vulnerable. My biggest problem with the Kenya Kwanza government is that they almost overhauled everything without a clear strategy on their end game. So for example, and while I congratulate most of my friends who've got jobs in the civil service, I'm deliberately concerned that they brought in very youthful and inexperienced people to be permanent secretaries, and in the process did away with that very important experience that most of Uhuru's PSs had. Mm-hmm. So when you bring in totally new team of people who have not been in government in a substantive way, then you expect a lot of mistakes to happen, at least in the first 1 year or so. Mm-hmm. So we still want them to succeed. I deliberately want this government to succeed, but I also think that it's important that they invest in experience. It's important that they consult. It's important, in my view, that they talk less and work, because now they have the mandate. Remember, they talk more than the opposition. As we speak, they talk, promise more than the opposition. And that means that probably they're not invested in what I think they should invest in, which is executing their mandate based on Kenya Kwanza manifesto, which I personally
Are you saying it's not possible to keep talking, but you're also working?
For a government, we want results. That's really why we are talking about cost of living, and you can see every major index of living has increased by 5% plus. Mm-hmm. So for a government, we really don't want them to abuse Raila every now and then. We want results, and I'm sure Honorable Tandi and my friend here, Titus, agree with me that a government needs to implement its manifesto. We are beyond campaign period. They campaign, they won, whether fairly or unfairly, but they won, and they're now in government. And by the way, across the world, governments that are transformative, that invest in change, normally do this within the first 6 months. So Kenya Kwanza, for your information, has just about 2 months to either deliver, or it becomes the new normal that we are used to them abusing Raila and attending prayers over the weekend and hoping that prayers of themselves will transform Kenya, which of course that won't happen. We need prayers, but we also need results.